All right, good afternoon. Going to call to order this January 7th meeting of the Energy and Climate Action Committee. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. So welcome everybody. So, hope all had a good hope had a good break and ready and raring to go. This is always a good time of year. I don't know. I think anyway, because you get a little chance to step back and think about aside from the rush of the day-to-day, week-to-week, think about what you all want to do. And so that's kind of our goal for today. In keeping with the suggested, let's have a quote to start with, which I appreciate that suggestion. Found one from James Clear and looking at stuff in James Clear is well-known speaker and author, and he talked about this year, who said every action we take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Optimize for enthusiasm. Make as many choices as you can that leave you feeling energetic and interested. I thought that was like, wow, that's good for today, because that's something we want to do is in a volunteer organization, we want to be energized as well as, making progress. But there's so many things that we can do. I think it's important to pick the right things to keep us all engaged. All right, with that, let's do a couple of introductions. We'll go around the room real quickly. I'm Tom McNellis.
Roberta Longley. Melanie Carr.
John Blaney.
Harry Anderson.
Gary. Speak.
Jerry
Thank you. I'm Mike.
Mike Sarstein.
And Jack.
Jack Hadley. Hello.
And Shayna.
Shayna Brogan.
Excellent, thanks. Shayna, any guest comments to start off with? All right, very good. These are all treasured guests and longtime supporters of us. So hope you'll. I did send you the packet for today, so you'll see kind of what we're working through, and your thoughts are certainly valued. First, though, let's jump over to Shayna for any town administrative updates. This is kind of an off-schedule meeting, but I know you've got some really interesting things to mention on, especially on the climate action plan.
Yeah, so for the EVIP grant for the level 2 chargers, we did get that award from DEP.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we've got about 90,000 to replace those. We just submitted the contract documents to them, all signed. So hopefully we get the turnaround contract signed from DEP back in the next couple of days, and we can move forward with Weston and Sampson on that.
Fantastic. And that's library plus town hall?
Yep, so that's for the library. Each location got about $45,000, which added up to about I think it was like 89,000 that we got.
Wow, fantastic. Any clue, any vision on when that might start?
That should start fairly quickly. I'm pretty sure Weston and Sampson is ready to go with the installation. So as soon as they get the okay from us, I think they're ready to start with the installation. It'll be charge point stations, whatever you want to call them. And we're also in discussions with them on a maintenance agreement. So we need to make sure that they're in working order. And so the cost came in a little bit high. I circulated it with Rich and the DPW and building and maintenance, who has different operation and maintenance agreements. So we're trying to see if we can get the price lowered a little bit, but eventually we're going to need that on an annual basis, just so we have someone to contact to make sure it's up and running at all times. Not like right now.
Fantastic.
Mike, did you have a question about that?
Yeah, Shana, I'm assuming the scope of the contract for both the library and the town hall is just replacement of the current heads. No, no upgrade to service or power.
No,
Okay.
nope. So they will continue to be level 2 chargers.
Yeah, no, but they'll be low level too.
Yeah.
All right. Because I
Yeah.
mean, if I remember right, the library is only about 6 kilowatts. And I think the town hall is only about 8, which is low level 2.
Yeah, I can double check. I think the reason we were able to kind of get it done as quickly as we were able to, which is quick in our world, is because we didn't have to work with Eversource, which adds much more time to the process. But I can check in just to see if there were any plans for
I
upgrading.
thought there was some issues at the library with the power. So that's why
Okay.
I was wondering if that was not true. That's good news, but if it is true, if it's not being reconciled, then I'm concerned. So, all right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll check with them.
Thank you.
Okay, power. And then the next one was the NEVI grant, which was the federal funding for the level 3 fast chargers, which would be new chargers at the town hall. And that's a $900,000 plus or minus allocation. And so we met with DOT back in December, and the next step is that they're going to give us a draft like a license agreement or contract that they are using with the MBTA right now as they're installing some chargers with them somewhere. So we're going to start working on that and looking at that and maybe send it to town council, because what we would be doing is leasing out the parking spaces to either DOT or the vendor that they select. But we're leaning towards hopefully licensing them with DOT and having them be the main point of contact. So it's moving along, but they did let us know it's a very slow process. They don't have a lot of them in the works, and they're looking at I guess there's going to be a recent installation, or there's one that's going in either in Barnstable or somewhere just off Cape, and they want to see how that goes, and the one with the MBTA.
Shanda, I have a question for you on that. So it's a $900,000 project, 900,000. But then you describe it as a contract for licensing, a lease. So why $900,000? I don't understand the connection. I don't.
Yeah, it must have to do with just the installation, the amount of upgrade that they're gonna have to do with Eversource to make them fast chargers. I think that's the big piece of it. I don't know what goes into that 900,000. We don't have to pay anything. We just have to
Yeah.
give the parking spaces, and the DOT thinks it's a really great location to have them, so.
Okay, so now I think I understand better. It's nothing that the town is gonna own or be responsible. It's the DOT that basically will own this and they'll lease it to us. Right?
Yeah, so we'll provide the space and they'll
The
install
space.
the chargers.
Uh-huh.
They'll be the one that contracts with the vendor. The payment and all that will be between DOT and the vendor. We're just giving the space for the chargers.
Thank you.
And eventually, so they'll have control over them for 5 years. It'll be a 5-year mandatory contract. And then after the 5 years, we could take them over. We could lease them. We could lease directly with the vendor. So we need to figure that out, obviously, what that additional operations cost is going to look like and all of that as part of this process.
Hey, Mike, you have a
Yeah, Shannon, so you said the model contract was with the MBTA, not the RTA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because I thought last time we met, you mentioned that the RTA was doing something in Hyannis that was part of the NEVI DOT thing. That's
Yeah,
why I thought. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I think they said that they were either doing it at the Route 6 rest stop. I'm pretty sure they said that that's where they were
Yeah.
going to install them. But I don't know any more than that. Yeah, they were talking about the MBTA
Okay. Yeah,
somewhere.
interesting.
Yeah. So, so that's that. We have the Green Communities, $250,000 grant that's pending. And we just, Tom and I just recently met with Lisa, I think, from the DOER, who said that we should be hearing on that one in February or March. So we're still waiting to hear back on that one. We submitted all the climate leader application materials, which then sets us up to be qualified for a $150,000 technical assistance grant that Tom and I kind of met with DOER and Laura Selmer from the Cape Light Compact, and also Rich was at the meeting. So we kind of talked with them about what we might do with that $150,000 that's going to become available, and ultimately kind of determined that it's best suited to begin the engineering for the town hall HVAC. So that's kind of the direction that we're headed with that.
And Shannon, can I just add to that? I think Rich also expressed interest in getting at least a first cut look at the microgrid possibility, assuming that can be fit into the 150K engineering study.
Yep, exactly. So we discussed the potential of looking at that, like what the feasibility might be. Because ultimately we're looking at hiring a mechanical engineer for the town hall. And if we have, like, they're sort of allocating that 150 to us. And if there's any, like, if the quote comes in less and we have some additional funding that we could use, we could put that towards the microgrid study. So that's that. And then after we had, complete the engineering of the HVAC at town hall, we then get that $1 million allocation to upgrade it, because we're thinking it's going to be quite expensive to upgrade the HVAC, because the police station came in at about 400,000. So we're thinking town hall is going to be much more expensive. And then lastly, the climate action plan draft we received Christmas Eve. So I scheduled meetings and met with staff yesterday and Monday. And basically, so I met with one-on-one with the DPW, Health and Conservation, and Community Development and Housing. And we went through all of the recommendations. And basically, they had minimal comments. They didn't have a lot of changes that they thought needed to be made. They didn't ask for any of the recommendations to be deleted or taken out. They basically just kind of said, this is great. We're not, they weren't really surprised by any of it. They just kind of said, obviously keeping in mind the capacity of the town to complete it and just how long it might take and the availability of funding. And so now I sent all of the comment drafts, the drafts in the comments in the draft to the Cape Cod Commission, and they have it. So hopefully we get the new draft to send off to everyone to review over the weekend.
So we anticipate it sometime this week.
Yes, I asked for them to send it to me tomorrow, but we'll see at Friday at the latest. I'll forward you the link at least.
And we're still expecting them for Monday, right? I don't know if they're going to be here on Zoom or in person, but they're going to.
Yeah.
My understanding is that they'll present to us a quick overview and entertain an initial discussion, and then that kind of opens up the comment period, which is probably for a month for comments.
Yeah, that's my understanding is once I get the draft, and if anybody wants it to be printed, if I can print it, if I get it tomorrow, I will print it out, because I know some people might want to read through it, or just read, if you just want like a section printed out, I can print it and leave it for you to pick up. But yeah, so if we get the draft tomorrow or Friday, you can read through it. The Cape Cod Commission, they are aware, that this meeting on the 12th is fully dedicated to discussing the plan, and they're going to present the plan and answer any questions or comments that you have, or any feedback initially that you have. And also with the understanding that the committee can meet again and offer additional comments at some point. The plan will be posted for public comment. I don't, maybe in the next couple of weeks. So it'll then be open to the public to also comment on it. And then after that, it'll go to the select board for approval.
I just had a quick question.
big is it at this, like, how many pages, and does it have like a
It's-
summary, like an executive summary, or maybe they're gonna wait and do that? So just kind of how big is it and how many pages and what
It's
is it?
pretty big. Yeah. I mean, so at the beginning, there's an executive summary. Then there's which I thought was really nice. They have a letter from the Climate Action Committee, which you all can put together to put at the beginning of the document. And then there's a section on just like a very brief section on what homeowners can do, just like, and where like specific actions that they can take are connected to the recommendation. So there's a section on that. And then there's a bunch of background on all of the public comment period and what the feedback was. So there's a section devoted, not like background on how buildings contribute. It's not really educational. It's just like all the feedback that they got. And then it's the recommendations. And then they have a bunch of appendices, which I haven't seen, but I think it's an educational guide, and some other attachments. And then one of the sections is like a grid that takes each recommendations and sort of says it's going to take this amount of time, like high, medium, low. It's going to cost this much money, high, medium, low. And they're going to give this all to the committee so that you can kind of in a Word format or Excel format, so you can kind of make edits to it if you see fit. So I would say it's about 150, 140 pages,
Wow.
something like that.
From what I understand, that's not untypical for a climate action plan.
No,
From what I've
yeah.
viewed online and so on.
Right.
Okay.
Wow, very, very exciting. So yeah, let's ask, is anyone interested in getting a paper copy of some or all of the document?
I was before I heard it was 107.
That's right.
I'm not burning that tree down, so.
Well,
Go ahead. No, I wonder if there's a section like actions, like not the background, but that's like here are, the goals or whatever they're called, and then the strategies, the implementation.
10 pages of that or something.
Yeah. So I've
Whole
printed,
section only,
like-
like,
it's pages 34 through 82 is all the recommendations of the plan. So it's pretty thick.
okay.
That's a big plan. So, or you can send out a PDF, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll definitely send it.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Anyone, after consideration, do you want a paper copy? I'm good with PDF.
Yeah.
Yeah, save the
Oh,
tree.
don't make my sort of saving the tree thing, like influence what you need to do, because normally I like to read on paper.
I'm gonna follow Shannon's lead. I'll take 34 to 82.
Page 34 to 82.
Is that what you said, Shannon?
Yep.
Yeah,
Black and
yeah.
white, that's what I do.
Same here in black and white would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that too.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's 4 copies of that. Mike is not here to pick up a copy, so PDF, I'm sure. Jack, are you interested in seeing part of this?
You're on mute, Jack.
Yeah, you're on mute.
PDF would be fine for me, thank you.
All right.
Okay. I'll let you know when that's ready to grab at town hall.
Very good. All right, very exciting. This, first ever, and I think this is the first on the Cape, right? I believe. I don't know of any other town that has done a formal climate action plan on the Cape. There's been a couple informal ones.
Well, I'm blindsided by that. I made assumptions that different towns did their things and.
Well, I will say that on the Vineyard, actually, West Tisbury did a climate action plan. So within the contiguous, counties here on the mainland.
There are towns that have made efforts at climate action plans and will say they have a climate action plan, but they didn't really go through the process we did, nor necessarily approval by their select boards and so on. It seems a little more
Formalized here.
informal, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
you'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that actually, for me, it makes me feel like if we hadn't had a climate action committee, we wouldn't have this. So would we? So this is kind of like
It's a big deal.
raise a glass to us. I mean,
Yeah.
not me. I wasn't on the committee that got this pushed forward, but I think
Well,
that's
but,
terrific.
but I think we've been working this for a couple of years and it's been building with the help of all the committee members year by year.
Plus
Um,
Dana, of course.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
It's been
Shayna as a, yeah, major advocate, and guide for us. So I think it's really collective efforts all the way through this year. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Shayna. We
Thank you.
always appreciate what you've been doing for us. Yes. All right. And next up is the meeting minutes. We have 3 meeting minutes in your packet. Hopefully you had a chance to take a peek at that. There's, John, I did receive one correction for November 10th that John Mugglrich was present for the whole meeting.
No.
Might have been virtual for that one. I don't remember.
Oh, he was there.
Was he?
Yeah, I remember him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was there. Any other comments on any of the 3 meeting minutes? With that, I'll take a motion to approve. I think we can do all 3 at once.
Motion so moved.
All right.
second.
Lenny, and yeah, Mike's already got his thumb up, so we'll give him the second. 2 thumbs up. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay. Motion passes 6-0.
Once again, John, great job on the minutes.
Oh.
I think we underappreciate the amount of time you put into that every minute.
Appreciate that.
All right, I'm gonna defer the chair's, well, actually, there's just a couple minor things to mention on the chair's report. Because I really want to get into the goals, but I want to mention, we talked about the January 12th meeting, so that's next week. Meetings in general, we have some folks at work, and Olaf in particular, having a new job, is finding it difficult to come earlier than around 5 o'clock. Thus, he's not here today. So I wanted to ask if we would all be amenable to having a slightly different time. Perhaps a 5 o'clock time, perhaps a later time, like a 6:30 time. Any preferences? I mean, I really think we like to accommodate folks that are working. And it's valuable to have folks like that here. Any thoughts?
My vote would be, the 5 o'clock time is better for me. Once we get, beyond the 6 o'clock hours, 7 o'clock hour, I'm not really,
Yeah,
I'm not in the I don't have. the
yeah, I know what you mean.
Because it actually requires brain work, like from. You know what I mean? So,
Shannon, does that work for you? If we move meetings to 5?
Yep, that would work.
Okay, so this would be starting with February, and I would like to chat at our next available meeting about just general ideas on how to make the meetings efficient. You'll see some thoughts on some of the slides that I put together just to keep a set of notes on things that folks have suggested. So that's something we can discuss, and maybe even we have in some months a second meeting to have more of a roundtable discussion, depending on how much time we have. Because I feel sometimes that we have so much business work, deliberations we got to do, that we never quite get to the kind of roundtable, water cooler discussion, I think, as you said, Lenny.
Tom, would the meetings remain on Mondays?
Well, that's, for now, the 5 o'clock meetings would still be the same Mondays, the same second Monday of the month.
Okay. And
Other discussions we can have later if we think we want to have a second meeting occasionally, or other, maybe it's a Zoom. I don't know. There's a lot of things we could potentially do if we think if it's worthwhile for us. But I think clearly we want to keep the meetings to an hour and a half, especially if we're starting at 5. We don't want to go beyond 6:30, I would suggest. All right, next issue of the wave is coming up. If anyone has suggestions for topics, I think, John, you've already started thinking about that. Shoot that over to John. All right, and the Nauset Fellowship talk at the Chapel on the Pines will be this Sunday. That was the one that we talked about from when it was supposed to be initially November, December, something. And part of that, we talked about having a roundtable kind of discussion or panel kind of discussion. So wondering if anyone is interested in joining me for that. I'm going to give like a 20-minute talk about I'm calling it climate conversations, what you can do in your own life for climate change, and gathering things from things that you've all provided. I don't have the presentation together just yet, so my apologies, otherwise I'd share it with you early. But the thought was then to have a question and answer, and we'd love to have folks participate and come and pitch in, because it's not just me, it's the whole committee.
The date again is,
So this will be Sunday. They do it at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on Sundays. So that's their set time.
You're anticipating a 20-minute slot?
Yeah, well, 20-minute to talk and then 20-minute Q&A,
Oh, so of the 1 hour, it's 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Got it.
And make sure we don't have times on the
Yeah.
Sunday.
Okay,
Goodbye, yeah.
okay. Yeah, I know it's always a tough.
Yeah,
day.
yeah, I can't remember.
Okay, let me know. Very good. With that, I'm going to suggest we jump into the discussion. So share my slide. It's here, and I will say that you saw. So I'm setting this up. You saw the initial compilation of the little poll that we did. Thank you all for participating in that. What I did yesterday was really only had time to put together to my slides here. Put together kind of the raw compilation of the poll. Now the process that I'm using here is something that I've done a lot. It's a Kaizen kind of process, often done in a longer meeting where you kind of put stickies up on the wall and you kind of prioritize and we're really at the point where we just put stickies up on the wall and we haven't talked about it yet. So first message is that this is not a stuck in stone kind of conclusion, but it's just kind of what I saw in the initial gathering of data, and ready for discussion. And I think the discussion needs to happen as to, I don't, this one here, do you really think that's that difficult? Should we move it around? Is this one really going to have that kind of payoff? Do I, maybe it's a little more, maybe it's less or whatever. So that kind of discussion we can have, and then we can better prioritize and figure out which ones we want to choose to get started with. So with that, let's see, okay. So first, I just wanted to throw up kind of what I like to do at the beginning of the year, look back at what we accomplished. I'm very impressed. I know a lot of this is kind of long-term background work, stuff that is advocacy out in the community, and that advocacy makes its way through to the select board and generates support. And so a lot of this is really important work. And you can see these are the 4 goal areas that we had for this past year. And you read through it, it's like, wow, I mean, we did quite a bit. And then down at the bottom, it's kind of some overarching things that we were just talking about, the climate action plan. We started the new look at climate adaptation and resiliency. That's a big deal, I think. And the East End strategic plan, which did a 5-year update. And we were able to get in the climate related goals, or leave language into to put the placeholders in for the climate related actions that are going to come soon. So I didn't want to dwell on this, but I just wanted to throw that up there. I think, you all deserved a pat on the back. I think we did quite a bit. All right, so for today, as I mentioned, kind of looking at the raw data, discuss, adjust. What I think we need to do today is adopt a set of well-defined goals. Now, it may not be the final set of goals and actions this year. I think we can adjust them as the year goes on. Especially as we discussed and suggested at the December 15th meeting, mid-year, we should do something. So I'll get that scheduled as we get closer. But strategies can always be somewhat dynamic, but it'd be good to have a set of defined goals. We may also have a set of things that we'd like to put kind of in the incubator space, where maybe then we have some new ideas coming up. Maybe we don't have everything defined for goal XYZ. We want to keep thinking about. My preference would be not to have a goal that is to go plan for the plan kind of thing. We should do those anyway. Those are kind of just do it. They're not big projects. Just think about, develop something. Hey, we'd like to go do climate resiliency hubs. We don't know yet what to do, so we'll get someone to think about it. Just as an example. All right. Our goal is to have, anyway, my suggestion for our goal is to have something that everyone will be inspired to support. Right. So as part of this, even if we have a one person goal that someone would like to take on and think they can tackle, it's great. Something that inspires us or inspires you, and also to rally around the larger projects so we can figure out how to make it happen and get it started and facilitate it.
So Tom, so this may also be, so once we see or what the final climate action plan is, and it goes through the next step of the public, and then I would guess it might be modified, the things that we're going to do this year. Year, there might be additional things to do or revisiting as we see what it is and what's in it. And
right. Yeah.
that's what
Good
I
point.
work with more directly.
Good point. It's good chance that there'll be some just do it's in the climate action plan, but others that we'll have to think about a little bit and develop into a project plan, so to say.
Okay.
So yeah, good point.
Mike has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Two hands up.
I was trying to put up multiple hands. On the previous chart, Tom, regarding stationary energy, I think you should add the select energy work we've been doing as well. Select did take a look at the transfer station, the landfill area, and the town hall complex. And
you're right. Yeah.
You should.
You're right. So that second bullet needs to be more than just the transfer station. Yeah, I missed that completely. Thank you. Yeah, good point. Good point.
What was the other hand for?
Yeah.
That was it. I was just trying to
Just emphasis, huh? Yeah.
emulate what the graphic did.
Thank you. Okay. So these are, just as a reminder, the goals, and I'm going to give you, let me send around these pieces of paper that have the full printout of the goals. There is the copy, and for the rest of you, I did send out a second email early this afternoon with these additional handouts just for reference. And much thanks to the folks that took what was essentially a set of quick one-line brainstorms from December 15th and kind of developed it into something so that we could all kind of consider what does that one-liner really mean. In some cases it was adjusted a little bit, I think very, very judiciously. In some cases we merged with other goals, and I think there may be more merging that that could happen today. Certainly open to all that. And in some cases, it could be that some of these, although there's a lot of really, really good ideas here, some of them might need more thought, or some of those might be harder than we initially thought. So I think, much thanks to everyone that took some time to think through these so that we could make a better decision on them. And this gets us the much more solid start, I'll say, than if we're still kind of mulling over these for a couple of months trying to figure out what they all mean. So I really appreciate that. I think there's a lot of great energy around this. Okay, so this is just a note, and I will take any other suggestions for future consideration. But there's some other goals, key goals that were not discussed on December 15th. One is bi-weekly or bi-weekly, the bi-monthly newsletter, every other month newsletter. I think that's a really important thing. I think that's a goal that we want to keep moving forward on. The second one on there was is the municipal energy efficiency, as part of our, adding energy to our name. And the Climate Leader Program plays a big part of that. It's something Roberta and I have been supporting, and I think as we figure out what climate leader really means, once we get that, that might be something that, we may have additional projects in there. Mike mentioned the Select Solar project, so that's in there. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff, and Rich has asked for, and Shane has asked for some help on planning for the grants, for the technical assistance grants. I'm going to be making some calls on that. So just didn't want to forget that piece. If anyone has additional things, just shoot those over to me and I'll put them on the list. So we just have a record. And then the last 5 or 4 are actually kind of, I think, in the just do it category. Some ideas that have come up over the last month and stuff that we can talk about at a future meeting. Helping to promote collaboration, promote external learning, and figuring out what's the state of state of the art right now, and climate advocacy and climate mitigation and adaptation. I mentioned the meeting times and formats we can discuss. I'd love to talk about that a little bit, and then incubate new ideas. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, and I don't want to tie up today's meeting in that. So this, as I said, is a raw collaboration. You all voted on what you thought was the level of payoff, high to low, on a particular action as it was defined, and how difficult, easy to hard. And what I did in the center there is I averaged those out. So a 1 is everyone thought it was, for instance, on payoff. A 1, everyone thought it was low payoff. A 2, everyone thought was medium. A 3, everyone thought was high, and fractions in between. All right, same with difficulty. And then the votes on if folks thought that something needed a little bit more definition, wasn't quite ready for prime time, and there may be more today that we might kind of think through. And then the ones that folks wanted to support. I will point out, and again, for discussion today, there's a number that have no support. So if we don't have support for something, if no one's willing to work it, it's not going to happen. Okay, so that's just the background. Now, what I did was I took all these, and this is what was called a pick chart. So I'm going into detail on what that all means. But anyway, you kind of plot it out based on difficulty versus payoff. So it kind of makes an interesting view. Typically, anything in the upper right quadrant that's the lower right quadrant that's really hard and doesn't have much payoff, you kind of say, well, it needs to be redefined, or maybe it's not worth grabbing. The stuff that's easy, especially real easy and might become a just do it. Stuff that's easy but low payoff. Maybe that's something worth as I think they call it a quick accomplishment,
Quick win.
quick win kind of thing. We might want to grab those and do them, even though they're low payoff. They're easy to do. And then the stuff that's high payoff and easy to do, those we should definitely be looking at. But the things that are kind of around the middle, we're not quite sure how hard it is to do. Those may need some more discussion. All right, so that's again, this is just raw data, just plopped on the chart. So what in typical first step on what does all this mean? The ones that I X'd out as a temporary X out, just by illustration, or the ones that had no one that wanted to support them. Now we can change that today if folks do want to help. And I'm especially interested in the ones that are easy to do. It seems like we probably could get some support for that. Maybe part of that is from our volunteers, or maybe, you know, folks can kind of, you know, talk through them and maybe willing to grab it. And then the one that was, let's see, it was A7, that is listed as hard to do, but probably not a huge payoff. I put that on the, you know, probably too hard to do as either too complex or not, you know, needs a little bit more definition or needs to be reworked a little bit. So I put that on the, again, on the chart of, yeah, probably not for today. Any questions on this so far? Because the next I'm going to go into a live chart where we can make adjustments.
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, I think what you did here was great. You sort of pre-digested this really well for us, and it made it very easy for me to look at it quickly. I'm wondering why you Xed out A3, which is
Nobody willing to support it.
nobody willing to support it.
Yes, I go back
Okay.
here. Whoops. There.
Event,
So
because it's event
A3
planning.
had no one said that they would be willing
Yeah.
to support.
To just comment on that, so that was when, and that's, the rating is the way it is, but I wouldn't think. It's like you and me and maybe and then. Someone from Cape Light Compact and then call the COA and say, hey, can we? So I don't see this something, I think this is why having discussion is really.
Exactly.
It's not technical. It's like this document I've already created, like how to, so, and then maybe having someone from Cape Light Compact come and talk about the stuff that they do, the in-home assessments that they do. So, and then arranging the library or the COA. And so it's not something that, you know, it's a big thing that needs a lot of people working on it.
So wait, so I'm confused about what you're saying. So is it about organizing the event that nobody wants to do? Is
Again,
Yeah,
there's
that's the,
probably
yeah,
That's what we don't-
interpretation that, you know, didn't come through here in terms of that subtlety, but all I did was I tallied up the number of folks that marked the box that said, I'm interested in supporting this one.
Yeah, so I had a related question about how people conceptualize difficulty. Difficulty could be
Good question.
conceptually, this is
Yep.
a challenge. Technically, perhaps the challenge or getting the right people in the room is a
Yeah.
challenge. Or people could interpret difficulty in terms of time required.
Yeah.
You know, and a special event just takes a lot of calendar time and that makes it difficult. I don't know what was in everybody's heads as they were assigning difficulty ratings to these things. But in this particular case, to my mind, technically speaking, it's not particularly challenging, kind of along the lines you were saying. Time-wise, you know, maybe it's more of a, people are like, oh, gotta gear up and
Mhm.
herd the cats and all of that. But making that distinction may be useful in terms of resorting these.
So Mike may have a thought on that. He's
Yeah.
got two hands up.
I would propose that A4 may become part of A1. So,
Right,
Okay.
right. You're speaking to, you know, another question / suggestion I had in my, both of your hands. That there's certain places where we got some duplication or overlap. And where some consolidation could be productive, and I think that's a good one, right?
Yeah, that's because.
Yeah, and I had another thought. I mean, we just asked, you know, topics for the wave. I think it's a great topic for the wave. You know, low cost and free ways to reduce energy. Forget the event part, but if we want to get information out there, I mean, I
Feature.
think, yeah,
Or an idea, yeah.
or maybe every, you know, top, you know, 3 ideas in this issue of the wave, and then in the next wave, 3 more ideas, you know, things like that.
Mhm.
So that we kind of just
Mm.
keep peppering information out to the community.
And frankly, if we get the info, and I think, John, you were working towards this, that running an event may not be that hard. We've kind of got a good,
That's true.
a good, a process in place now to run events.
So just, you know, if people are into it, you know, I'm just like, and I think that's why, and I think I sent an email to Tom, I think having a conversation about some of these, like the level of effort and the intended impact is helpful for ultimately just deciding what we're gonna go forward with, so.
Mhm.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a live chart here. This happen, and we can play around with this. Done. Okay. Now,
I think the notion of the event, you know, to me was like, oh, planning an event, you know, is there an easier way to do this? Right, so.
We have some experience with running events, particularly on that subject matter. A
Right.
lot of
Right.
institutional knowledge at this point. And how
So
to
in the
pull that
whole,
together.
that cluster, that initial cluster, Vernon, to your point, or actions, I think. A lot of what that's about, that's distinct and a move forward is having more of a program concept for what we're doing. Which you would say, one component of our program is going to be these information sheets. We've already developed several of those and we can kind of refine those and develop more. Another component could be a peer-to-peer kind of advice and guidance element. A third component could be special events, you know, having the more or less standard way that we do those things. Packaging all those things together as a program is, to me, that first strategic area, which is currently called something like coaching program.
Or outreach, John, or community information or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the overall is, and then here are different projects under that.
As you say, packaging, that's the first time we really discussed that concept
Mhm.
with all the things that are doing this. And in addition, what are the, and you've mentioned it in it, how, is there a way we could be collaborating with other towns on this and making this a much larger
Right,
outlay to the
Right.
community?
right.
so do we want to take A3, which is the event? I guess two questions on the table. Is it still an event or is it just an outreach? And do we want to drop it in complexity a little bit? I don't think, sounds like it may not be as hard as we're thinking.
I think we could say instead of an event, you know, strategies to disseminate information on low cost and free ways to reduce energy.
Because having worked at the COA, I mean, I think they're always welcome for opportunities, you know, and so if we were so I'm gonna be gone until April, so I mean, pretty soon here. So perhaps something like this, you know, contact COA, Dorothy would like to do this, no, okay, and then they do it in their newsletter and on their Facebook page and what have you. So I think that helps to grease the skids a little bit as far as outreach and that type of thing. So if we were to do an event.
Right.
Okay, so I added COA and WAVE and I added outreach because it was easier than all the words that we'd like to say there. I mean, I think part of this is trying to gather together what an outline would be, right? And maybe that's something if you're, you know, you've had a lot of thought put into the low cost waves, you've got that one pager. Maybe it's a matter of getting your thoughts together on what a presentation might be. Or a series of documents, separate documents, or how we want to disseminate.
Oh, right. It would definitely take some planning,
Yeah.
especially if we were to have someone from Cape Light Compact. So yeah.
Well, remember the Compact does energy efficiency
And heat pumps.
and heat pumps, but not some of the other low cost ways. I mean, much of what was on the list, some really interesting things that kind of fall through the cracks a lot. Right?
But they do the in-home assessments, right? So people
They
can
do,
get free.
they do.
So I think,
Right.
yeah.
Right. But things like you know, no idling at the beach, they're not gonna talk about that.
Right, that's a separate thing,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
So what do you think? I lowered A3 down a little bit, and took off the X. But it sounds like
You
something.
lowered it because you feel the payoff is less.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to lower it on the other axis. Axis of difficulty. So payoff is good. That's where we decided maybe drop it down a little bit in difficulty.
There we go.
Thank you.
And remember, I mean, I think we have to always keep in mind, you know, like when I was putting my little numbers in there, like 1, 2, or 3, I mean. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I just sort of said, oh, that seems like a pretty good idea. Well, great, whatever. So
Well,
these are not like. Really, these are not facts. These are just.
I think it was hard to do
Feelings,
without,
impressions.
without discussion, without,
Right.
just, which we're
Yeah.
having now,
And then
yeah.
I actually don't think it's really important to have a, you know, I'm glad we're doing this. But like, it's kind of good. You get your felt sense out there. What's your sense? We aggregate that.
Mhm.
And then we vet it. So I'm glad we're bringing that back online. And, you know, hopefully the leadership will emerge. That if there's a vacuum there to support this, it'll emerge.
can we,
I
can we,
want to jump up to Mike.
oh, sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask is, regarding, ones, you talk about, low cost. Does that include, for example, eating less red meat and more protein from plant-based? Does that include using less plastics and more cardboard-oriented containers? Does that include, you
Yeah,
know?
I would love to have a full discussion about that with a full committee. I know the
Right.
stationary, I would love to have a full, here's a list I've come up with. I've had other thoughts since then. So it could include, Mike, I think it would be great to have a full discussion, anyone who's interested, maybe in the sub-working group about thinking about, what the scope should be. So I'm not gonna say here this afternoon, no, that should or shouldn't. I really would welcome other eyes on it in collaboration with others, which we can, do.
That's a
something
great
like that.
idea.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the first, first.
Yeah,
step
I
is
would love that.
Curate a list.
Love that. Yeah.
Awesome, that sounds great. Okay, and other ideas on what's up
I'm just
here?
gonna ask as a matter of process, since we're in the middle of it, it's a good illustration. Can we collectively decide where A3 should be?
Of course. I moved it a little to the left to make it easier. I can move it up
Go
or
ahead.
down, way up if you wish.
No.
Oh, okay. I would move it up a little
Yeah.
bit. If I move it, unambiguously into the
Higher.
first to that upper left quadrant. Because I think we haven't determined, and we're not gonna determine in this room exactly how this is going to be done. We started off with a special event. We're now kind of opening it to some other possibilities. But the point is to focus on the low cost, but impactful things that average people can do.
How high up would you like to move it?
Just so that it's clearly in that first quadrant, not on the border.
On the line.
In there somewhere? That's great.
And there's a little social equity in this as well. These are things that really even renters can do, so you don't need to,
Good.
yeah, so that's a big part of it as well, so.
And I'll just add in some of the things that I've been seeing in terms of researching some of the broader lists of stuff, including the ones that you had on the list, which is really interesting. There's two ways of measuring our greenhouse gas emissions, right? One is what's in boundary, which is our formal greenhouse gas stuff. And if we're focused only on greenhouse gas reductions, we're not reducing necessarily what's in boundary, but we are reducing, I can't remember what they call it, it's the secondary effects of your decisions in daily life, right? But the other is just keeping the idea of climate action in everybody's mind. Because right now that's kind of being stomped on in a big way. And the value of just having it in front of people and talking about it, and there are easy ways to do things, every little bit helps. That's a big deal, I think. Shayna.
Yeah, just kind of going along the lines with what you were saying. I think maybe not labeling it energy use, but maybe ways to take climate actions, or adapt to climate
Okay.
change, or something other than energy, since it seems to kind of be expanding a little bit.
My question is to sort of test that a little bit.
Are we good with that?
Oh, well, I'm questioning that a little bit. I think it's important to have, for something like this, enough focus that people kind of know what they're reacting to and what their benefit's going to be. I think, low cost ways to address climate change is pretty broad. It would be nice if we could have it focused a bit more tightly than that, which is reducing energy use to me is about the right level of specificity. It may not be the right specific, but and again, I don't know if we can wrestle that firmly to the ground here in this room, but
We could put off what the messaging is gonna be to the group that, and committee discussion later.
We would certainly link it. It would certainly, it would certainly be linked during the program or whatever it is, distributed dissemination of it, it would certainly link it. So it would certainly be their climate change.
For our own use, would climate action be an okay thing to put here? Seamus,
Or climate wise. And I think about.
how would you word that?
I don't know. I mean, you know how I feel about, I feel like we all have the essence of this. I'm not sure that we have to get it crisp.
I'll just
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like that,
But yeah.
just to keep moving.
Yeah.
We know what it is.
Let me,
I think, outreach is really disseminating information is what I
Yes,
think we're
yeah.
trying to say here.
yeah, and we can be more specific.
TBD,
Yeah.
yeah, specific TBD.
It's more informal than a coaching, but it's still the same theme of educating and, supporting climate literacy.
Mike,
Yeah, I'm just not confused because I think I know where I'm going with this, but the payoff, we're really we really have several, I would say, metrics where payoff is measured, right? One is greenhouse gas reduction, and I'm sensing that the other one, based upon where some of these topics are falling in the top left quadrant, is how many people are engaged and may be able to do something. So even it may only be 0.5% lowering of greenhouse gas, maybe you've got 20% or 30% of the town engaged.
is that a question or?
That's the question. It sounds to me like payoff means multiple things. It's not just one metric. In other words, it's not just greenhouse gas reduction.
Right.
Well, that's true.
yes, mobilizing the town, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Because our efforts,
You could get 80% of the town engaged, and it may only affect greenhouse gas by 0.1%. So
Right.
yeah,
yeah.
Just the same.
and that
Being able to
90% of the
measure.
town may go out and vote their mind,
Right.
later. So
And
that's,
it seems like whatever goals we establish, we also want to think through what success looks like and
Yes.
what are we shooting for here?
Yes.
We're shooting for X number of communications that go out, X number of people that show up at events, and we need to set some goals for that and see if we can meet them.
Yeah, that's why I asked the
Next-
definition of payoff. Do we need
Yeah,
to clarify that and quantify it? So, because it's, to me, it sounds like it's multiple things depending upon the goal.
It's the old distinction between outputs and outcomes, right? Payoff should be outcomes, I think. And outputs are, different, they're important. But, sometimes there may be overlap.
you mean like running an event is an output, but what's the outcome?
Yeah, well, one of the outputs would be how many people are in the seats, right? And does that tell you the impact that you're having? Not exactly. Hopefully.
How do you measure something that's you're able to and can't
Mhm.
in that instance? What's the impact? Because you're following them to see whether they actually did put those heat pumps into their home. It's
There are things you can ask about intent, behavioral change that people intend. That's one of the things we've been doing.
let's jump up to Shayna.
Yeah, just going along with what Mike was mentioning, the climate action plan draft also kind of outlines various measurements of impacts and payoff and difficulty and cost and whether if it's high, medium, or low greenhouse gas reductions. And I think I'm pretty sure there's like quite a few recommendations regarding outreach and education. So it'd be interesting to see and look at what the Cape Cod Commission had come up with. And they also have a page on metrics and how you might consider measuring outcomes of these, accomplishing the recommendations.
Other projects here, actions that we want to talk about? Just the question,
Yes,
John,
sorry. Since we're kind of in the same space, A4 is an outreach program for residents on heat pump maintenance and operations. Seems to me it's kind of similar. We should handle it kind of the same way that we just handled the low cost ways to make a difference, right? There's the subject that we're trying to drive here, which is heat pump maintenance and operations, which is separate from the question of how we're going to do that. Are we going to have special events, or are we going to do something else?
and do we want to talk about that though, excuse me, in context of A1? Because I think we said we were going to move A4 into A1.
Right, I think so. I think we do the same thing. That's my recommendation.
So, if something is a written document, there's a chapter on how to maintain and operate your HP.
Right.
Yeah.
If there,
And it's a chapter on
Right.
easy things you can do or low
right,
impact things you've
and
got.
maybe we
low.
do a special event.
Yeah.
Sarah. Olaf will tell us what happens there.
You say move. A1. So do we want to talk about A1 while we're topic? Because A1 was something that was in the higher level of kind of in the middle of difficulty and but good payoff. Do we think we can tackle that in all in this year? And I think, John, you would put some thought into how to do that. I'm wondering, can you talk about, do you think there's a lot of new material to generate? Is it a matter of dissemination? Where do you think the challenge is
Well,
there?
yeah, I think this is an area where we have a good bit of experience. Several of us around the table, plus Jack and Mike out there, have done a good bit of work generating information sheets. We've done a couple of special events that are in the same kind of space. So I feel like we can build on that, first of all, to do things going forward more efficiently, but also we can take existing information sheets, for example, and update them as necessary, but not create them from scratch. So I would think for that particular case, we'd be looking to do a lot of reusing and adapting of things that are already out there that are effective, as well as building on our experience, and including experience in the peer-to-peer guidance kind of domain, where we've had a couple of events where we did that. So I think that, broadly speaking, is my thought on A1. That's a space where we've already done a lot and know a fair amount. We should be able to capitalize on that.
Do you see this as definitely a peer-to-peer counseling? I know the first step you listed, make a decision on whether to collaborate with
Right.
the energy navigators. If we decide not to, does that put the onus on us to do peer-to-peer, or does that eliminate peer-to-peer? What are you thinking in there?
I think it puts the onus on us. There's that. And this is just my thinking. Others have had some experience with this, Mike in particular. But I think our experience has been is that people like that. They respond positively to it. We have more than a few people in town who can serve well effectively as peers. It can be a very effective model. So I would hate for us to drop it just because we felt like we couldn't work out something with OCAN. And I think the larger question that we're circling here, Tom, is whether to make the whole strategic area that A1, A2, et cetera, are now under, just to characterize that as a program. And then the program comprises certain things, activities focused on home electrification, low cost ways to make a difference, heat pump maintenance and operations. Those are all pieces, specific actions under that larger strategic effort, which is to have a systematic approach to getting information to people.
John, so the peers, would the peers be trained for a particular event? Or would they be on call by, I guess, I just have a question, like how the peers would be utilized once they're
Right.
trained? Or
Obviously, fair amount of TBD would be TBD, but just hearing them, I would say, no, you would not have them for a particular event only. You pick people out because they have experience with some facet of the greater challenge that you're interested in. So somebody has installed a central heat pump based system in their house 3 years ago, and they've got all kinds of data on their experience with it. And so if somebody else comes along and says, hey, I want to know what to do about heat pumps, you can say, oh, well, Joe did this 3 years ago and he's got great experience. Let's connect you to and provide that kind of information.
So we would provide referrals to these peers, depending on the topic.
Correct.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah, I was going to offer a thought. If Eastham decides to adopt the Energy Navigator collaboration with Orleans, some of these could actually be part of the Energy Navigation program.
Some
Like
of
that-
these,
Like that specific one there, regarding how do you operate your heat pump, how do you maintain it and clean it, and how do you care for it year to year, could certainly be part of the Energy Navigators.
okay,
And there is a vast amount of material that they have generated. It's a
Right.
different format than what we've done in that they tend to be very quick one-pagers and don't go into a lot of detail. So I think there have to be some discussion, my own opinion, on how we get the additional detail. How do we get to the meat of the matter? I mean, I think,
Like a steering committee that works.
yeah, working, yeah.
But Tom, I mean, their outreach model is basically to be out in the community and, have information tables, right? Information events where people can stop by and you can say, hey, do you have a heat pump? How do you use your heat pump? And, so those could be pointed questions for the community.
Right. But I do think there's value in, the heat pump guide that, that Jack and the group put together this year or this past year. Because the one pager that the navigators have doesn't quite answer the question that I would have. It's not, at least for me, it wouldn't be the right format. I'd go to our heat pump guide. So I think that's part of the discussion maybe to have is that how do we satisfy that?
Yeah, and we discussed that with them at their meetings, so.
All right. So on A1, I put it down under the discuss. Do we want to put it into the start implementing now category? I think so. I think we had,
Group, John.
in terms of, that was there you go. That was the A1, topic A1. Just had Mike and myself listed there. Do we have others? Because that's enough of a project to try to figure out. We'll probably need a number of folks. John, you willing to help on that?
sure.
Jack, you've done some awesome work before in that area. Would you be interested in considering that?
Short answer is yes. And I was very intrigued by the Energy Navigator program. And my concern was that it would require a fair amount of training to really feel confident when you tell somebody X, Y, or Z about heat pumps or solar panels. And my sense was that, and I think John mentioned this, or maybe you did, Tom, that what they have is fairly superficial information. So, I think making, I guess, as a group, coming up with enough detailed information, at least on some subset of topics, that we don't have to know everything about everything. That when we meet with somebody, we feel confident that we're giving them good information. So, but the short answer is yes, I would be interested.
You bring up a good point, and this is something I've been thinking about, so I'll just kind of give you my thoughts. The Energy Navigators are not a town committee, and joining them links us into helping perhaps publicize a group that is a separate set of volunteers. They're not tied to the town.
They are to a degree. My understanding is that it's a combined effort with the OCAN and the town committee. So in a way, it is connected. That's my understanding, but maybe.
So OCAN, it's under OCAN officially. Right, and so the difference is that they have a couple reps there from the town committee, and we could, I mean, we've been going there occasionally and supporting them with ideas. We could officially say we'll have a rep there to help guide. But I think the difference is by having it under OCAN, they can go out and they can say, hey, I've got a list of things that of local vendors that I think have done very well. We don't do that here as part of the town. That's not something that we wouldn't recommend vendors. We would just give you a list of everybody available.
But Tom,
So there's things we've got to think through and talk to OCAN about to answer some of those questions. Because I think as a town committee, we really can't do that, but we can help advertise them as a resource. And
Yeah,
we
but-
can also volunteer individually or try to help recruit volunteers for what they do.
yeah, I want to make sure it's clear that the energy navigators are not subject matter experts. What their training is how to engage with people and then get people to the right SME themselves. They're not the SMEs. They're just the go-between between the potential user and where the expert is. And most of that is through Cape Light Compact and/or Rise Engineering. That's what the SME is, not the energy navigator.
Yeah, it's a good point. They kind of guide you through. They say, here's the steps you should consider. Here's the resources to go to for each of those steps.
Yeah.
A bigger question is that collaboration with that energy navigators
Right.
and the value to that over the course of the year. It's not just, the programming of how we talk to people about this, we have worksheets and the events and stuff. It's also a much larger public outreach and really getting the word out in a much larger fashion than we have. And having a multi-town group is much more effective. So to me, it would seem like that would be one of our goals this year is to decide whether we're going to do that, to decide whether that's something that,
One of the first steps under A1.
yeah, it's, yeah.
Have that
yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
and figure that question out. You don't see it here.
Right, it's there in the document you're
detail,
saying,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So I think we're saying that's a start now
Forward.
project, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm hearing. And I think we said this one, A4 is gonna be folded into
Yeah.
A1. Okay, and then we also said, I'm trying to track, we said the A3, what's it?
Yeah, A3.
A3 that we wanted to move forward with. A3.
Right.
So in the other items that I flagged, and we can talk about any of the projects, but in terms of the items down there, 9 and 12, they were kind of in that middle category of, they weren't definitively, let's just get started, but I think they're good candidates for that. Any thoughts? Anyone want to pick up either one of those and talk about it?
I was hoping somebody could explain to me the relationship between those two, because they sound, when I read through the summary of each of them, they sounded kind of like they're doing kind of the same thing. There was a lot of overlap or.
Yeah, and on 12, Eleni, you put in a lot of work thinking
Yeah.
through that one, initial thinking through that one, right?
Yeah.
You want to explain what your thoughts are on that, your vision is?
My vision is a little bit stale right now, because it's driven in part by the hazard mitigation plan that we read now, so the spring that we read that. And supposedly, there's another hazard mitigation plan that's coming up. And I'm supposed to be sitting on that. I don't know if there's been any development around that, but maybe not.
Nothing yet.
Yeah, so I feel like really what that's about is like maybe taking a look at the revised hazard mitigation plan, bumping it up against the climate action plan, coming up with how we understand the climate risks and what we can do about it. And then, having some sort of, whether it's an event, whether it's a coaching program, I mean, I don't know, it's open for discussion. That we make sure that our community is aware of the most likely climate risks and what to do about it. That's basically it.
It sounds like what you're saying is, are we prepared at this point to have the information we need to do that?
We aren't, because the HMP has been really on pause, it seems.
Right, although if you're at a higher level of what it all is, it's very clear what our risks are. It's water and flooding, so.
Yeah, and wildfire risk.
Could talk about it, yeah, right.
Right, which is a
Right.
discovery for us.
Right,
That has been affirmed, I think, in Olav's, there's been more information that's come out since. So, information's new to us, it's really gonna be new to other people in the community. And that's what we don't have. So what you're saying is, maybe we should just go with that. What I hear you saying, Roberta.
right, and I've actually not done any work in terms of what events could look like or who would be speaking on it. And I hate to have as a plan, we're gonna plan as a.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, but. John?
John?
Julian, I'm trying Mike's texting. What I hope we can retain in whatever we do with 9 and 12 is some focus on what the people out there, the residents can do. How you can make a difference. The thing that makes me a little nervous about specifying what the most likely climate risks are is then what do people do with that information? And the homeowner's handbook, at least in the title, promises an answer to that kind of a question. So if we're gonna venture into these waters as a committee and develop something for people, I'd like to make sure that here's what you can do, basically.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think, coming up with a homeowner's handbook is feels to me daunting, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I didn't put my name next to that.
Right.
Because it just feels like
Mm-hmm.
to comprehensively, I don't know, when I think about a handbook, I think about a lot of information, a reference.
Right.
A lot of information. And it's almost, I feel like we can develop that organically over the next 3 years, like a handbook, and every revision gets, we offer issues of it at the windmill, and here's the update, but I think somehow just getting the word out there and using the tools that we have, like the WAVE, and the COA, and we have strategies.
I would really make clear that this is about resilience, right? This particular block of activities. As opposed to how can you reduce greenhouse gas?
Yes, exactly, yes, that's
Yeah,
adaptation and
adaptation.
resilience.
Adaptation.
We have to
Mhm.
protect our homes.
So really
we
bring that
protect
forward,
ourselves.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
But let's jump up to Mike. I know you have your hand up and you've talked a little bit about a little thinking about the climate survival guide.
Yeah, with respect to A9, I put it in the easy box because as the one who took responsibility for doing it, because my approach to it was just leveraging everything that already exists. It's basically going to summarize what FEMA, what Department of Energy, what all the experts currently do, APCC, Cape Cod Commission, what they currently recommend for how to reduce wildfire risk, how to reduce, around your home, how to reduce flooding around your home, what to do in a hurricane, what to do in a tornado, how do you want to prepare yourself, your family, and your property for things that are more now driven by climate change because they happen more frequently and they're more and they're of higher damage. So all it was going to do was provide references for folks with a summary on each of those major, what I call them weather event topics, and just so they have a guide as to what they need to be thinking about doing. So it was really not building any new material.
Well, that's interesting. So you're thinking, Mike, it would and we'll go to Shane in just a second, but you're thinking just having a list of references and hot links and here's the things where you should go to
Yep.
to get more informed on this.
It would be a summary describing the event, the potential event, you know, and then what do you need to be thinking about now, and if it happens, what you need to be, how you need to react.
Mm.
And again, it's all that all exists. You just got to bring it all together in one pamphlet or, you know, trifold reference.
Shayna, you've got some thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
the Woods Hole Sea Grant and the Cape Cod Cooperative Extension partnered with DCR, NOAA, MassCZM, looks like Woods Hole Oceanographic, and they created, and maybe this isn't fully what you envisioned, but they created the homeowner's handbook to prepare for coastal hazards. And it's a fairly long 88-page document
Right, I've got it.
that
Shane.
talks about coastal storm hazards, nor'easters, floods. It doesn't address wildfires. It was
Or
published in
hurricane.
2020.
It doesn't address tornadoes.
It doesn't address tornadoes. It just
Blizzards.
says it's got flooding, how to protect your property, your basement, flood insurance, wind insurance, and general information. And then there's like a coastal property checklist and things like that. So I can share that with you and maybe.
No, I have it. It's one of the references.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I wonder, and Mike, I don't know if you're hearing some of the thoughts in the room here, as Shane was saying that it almost sounds overwhelming. And I'm wondering if maybe breaking it down as to this particular handbook of many, many pages has all these topics you can get to. Right, so in other words, provide a more mini guide to say, hey, if you're worried about coastal erosion, if you're on the shore, chapter X on this in this handbook will take care of you. If you're
It's a
worried about,
It's a handbook of references. That's really what it is.
yeah. Based on that, what I think Mike is suggesting, A9 can go into the easier category.
Put it on the board.
What do y'all think?
I think it's moderate, but,
Would we have more impact and more publicity on the subject by having those links? Those are great and access, allow people to understand that information exists, but really devote our time with public education, a program of some sort, like 2 or 3 events
yeah.
in the fall, where we pick one topic, wildfires.
That sounds super fun.
I think many people would be interested in going to that.
Yeah,
If you had some
yeah.
local people talking about that,
Yeah.
including the police chief or whatever,
Yeah.
and then pick another two
Mhm.
topics.
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
people have
Flood.
heard a lot about coastal flooding and erosion.
Right.
In broad terms, what they need is something, here's what you can do, and you,
And hear from an expert, and you'd be able to ask their
Yeah.
questions.
I agree.
But I'm wondering, it sounds like we have perhaps 2 projects here that can, A9 could feed, that 1 pager or whatever it is, 1 or 2 pager list of references could feed that event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would be a-
I
exactly.
mean, is that something you're willing to, I don't remember if you had your name on that, Mike, but is that something you're willing to,
No, I didn't sign up to doing the events. I signed up to
No,
doing the handbook.
yeah,
But
would you be,
if the committee believes we should have those events in addition to, you had A10 as well. So I mean,
it sounds like they're both worthy projects.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's just not wildfire. That's only one
Right.
topic of many, right?
So I'm gonna push A9 over a little bit if we're all in agreement on that. I don't know, how far over were you thinking, Mike? In terms of the level of difficulty?
Again, it's just all it's doing is citing references. It's not creating
You're right.
any new
Where would you
material.
like to have it on the axis?
Does it matter?
Yeah.
Does it matter if it's in the right quadrant?
If
Do you
he's
think-
happy with where I put it, we'll leave it there.
Yeah,
All right,
I agree.
Right.
so A12, what do we want to do on that one?
So I think,
It's 4:30 time.
It's
I don't think it's to do now, even though we can start conceptualizing what that might look like. but like you said, maybe, we plan for at least one event in the fall.
Yeah.
That identifies one of the three, and then see what we learn from doing that.
Absolutely. I
It's
think that's
doable.
very important, everything we've been talking about.
Which, by the way, would be really, if we're thinking about that, really, A13 has a connection to it, was the police chief, we're on emergency planning.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
First stop this letter is to go and talk to the police chief.
And maybe what you're saying makes sense. You pick out the topics to cover
Right.
first, because we had a really interesting long list of different organizations that could get involved or might need to be, collaborated with. But if you neck it down to these topics, you'll neck down the list of
Yeah,
daunting list of collaborators.
right.
Okay. So I'm gonna suggest then is perhaps, especially since we got 4 minutes to finalize. No pressure. Does this look about right? We're talking about doing the list under the start implementation now category. This list. Do we? I think part of that
That's good for me.
question is, let's see. 1, 3, 10.
A1 will have to be retitled, just
1, 3, 9. Let's just get a good look at this. 9, 10. 12 is in. So I think that's the list,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
right? Do we have enough people? The next question to tackle is.
But my question, A10 and A12, so A10 of individualized wildlife risk assessment program, I'm not quite sure what program means. And then public education program for 2 or 3 more like,
Right.
so are we kind of biting off a lot here?
Well, I'm sorry, say that again.
It seems, yeah, I'm first,
Redundant? It seems redundant to you.
maybe a little bit and also a lot for 1 year.
I see. Well, maybe the public education program for this year should be selecting one of the most likely climate risks.
Yeah.
And maybe, well, we choose wildfire because it's not what people would initially think is one of the risks, and it's not as likely as, erosion and flooding, but it might attract attention.
Right, and there's a lot of good information out there and a lot of
Yeah.
expertise, so
Right.
we could. do
So
that.
maybe we just collapse those into,
So you can just make that develop a public education program on most likely climate risks. And this year, it's
wildfire.
one thing, it's wildfire.
Yeah,
Okay.
And fall is usually, as it gets dry, that's
Right.
really sort,
Time to
that would
talk
be a
about
good time to,
oh, good.
talk about.
And then just take out A10.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. And so
Yeah.
A10
Yeah.
folds in,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
see, yeah,
Yeah.
fold into, that go would do it.
Yeah.
A12. Got some hands up. I don't know who was first, but Jackie. Go ahead.
Yes, I'll sign up for A8 since I threw that idea out months ago. And by signing up for A8, I'll draft a memo or something like that for the committee to consider forwarding to the appropriate town offices.
I can work with you on Jack, on that with you, Jack, because that's one of the ones I had put it up
Okay,
for,
that's great.
yeah. so-
And Jack, I think that, I don't know if you were able to read through, the material, but, yeah, you and Harriet should chat, because I think it was a really interesting thought you had, Harriet, of maybe putting up a temporary sign to get started on the beach, tenders, booth, which would eliminate a lot of the questions that we had surrounding doing a permanent
Yeah,
sign.
maybe some brochures, just
Yeah.
because they're a center, so just keep it easy, easy. easy.
Mike,
Yeah, just a clarification regarding work on the handbook. The only new information that I would add is because what I'm concerned about is folks currently transitioning to heat pumps who have generators may not have considered whether their generator will support that heat pump. So I want to make sure folks recognize that if they've transitioned to a more electric house, that their generator is capable of supporting them should the grid be out for a prolonged amount of time. And they need to shelter in place. So that's the only new info, because I have not seen that addressed anywhere.
What do we think, based on what you're seeing here? I've Xed off the ones that I think we're talking about starting now. And some of them have been reduced, and I put under that, A12, one public education program wildfire for this year.
Mhm.
And A10, we're folding in, so I guess that one I can X out there. Alright,
Are both A3 and A4 getting folded into A1? Is that the plan? I
Or-
see,
Yeah, or is it folded into that whole top,
yeah,
the thing, established clean energy coaching?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's the latter.
so are we,
So, but then what are the individual actions become home electrification, low-cost freeways, and HP, so,
Yeah, plus deciding on whether we're gonna merge with other
right,
towns,
right.
which I feel should be on that. It's important enough. It's a decision-making process, but it's a goal for us is to decide and see
Right.
if that's something that we.
I think the only thing is, Tom, we're not necessarily talking about folding A4 into A1, but keeping those three separate under the larger effort of developing
Okay.
an overall program.
so if we do A4, which is the heat pump,
Right.
project, who's gonna be doing that one?
That's supposed to be Olaf.
Olaf
Right.
has given and put up a red flag recently to say that
Slow down.
he's getting pulled into a lot of travel to get, oriented in his new job.
Hmm.
And I think we want to give him the flexibility to do that for now.
Muggeridge.
Perhaps John Muggeridge. Maybe John, you can talk to John.
John can talk to John.
And that will determine whether this one gets done
There.
done now or later.
Yeah,
It's still a valuable thing to do. Do we do it?
we can have a small group of people work that whole cluster of A's, A1, A3.
Okay, okay.
It's a cohesive thing.
Just one comment on A6, the electric lawn tools lending program. So maybe somewhere, through the year, what have you, maybe without like the full program, but just awareness of how polluting they are. And then maybe, like you and I were talking, but like a little demonstration program, I said, oh, electricals, it's really not gonna do that much, but so maybe something where, you show, they can blow leaves and they can do this and that. So maybe that just gets folded in.
That might be interesting to bring up for the second half of the year.
Right.
For a couple of reasons.
Sure.
One is that we'll get some of these under our belts,
Uh-huh,
and that could certainly go into the
yep.
low cost ways.
Yep.
Right, but also if we approach.
It's a little
town-
different. It's a little different, but just awareness building. We're doing awareness building.
Yeah, but it's easier to
Yeah.
approach the town after town
Sure.
meeting.
Sure,
It's
yeah,
a-
oh, yeah, absolutely,
It's a
absolutely.
rough ramp up.
Soft launch this year.
Yeah. So, but Harriet, while we're talking on A3, the low and free ways to reduce energy,
Uh-huh.
it sounded like you were willing to get that started.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't wait for me to come back. We can start talking and see
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when and all of that. So it doesn't have to wait till April to
Perfect.
get moving on that.
Uh,
But first to schedule, and we'll be participating remotely, but when, we don't have to decide right now, but a full discussion by the committee on different things that could be included in that. And the main thing to like help people reduce their utility bill, because we've heard like
Okay.
rates are going up and they may be going up some more. So, yeah.
So let's see, just taking a look up there for your own names, are you comfortable or do we have too much stuff up there? I want to be, of course, respectful of time. And I will say, I think we'll have better feel into the A14 on the cap at
Yeah.
next week's meeting, so we don't quite know yet what that's
Right.
gonna,
Yeah,
we need to maybe need to modulate stuff at that point.
yeah.
We also have outlined what we'd like to try to accomplish over the year too.
Yeah.
Three things, so
Yeah.
that's pretty straightforward.
Mike,
Yeah, I just wanted to go on the record and give an observation for the state of our mentality these days with respect to climate action and climate change. As a town and as a people and as a population, we are, and I'll quote and unquote willing to pay taxes for clean water, for sewage, but not for clean air. Right? So, you know, I worry that we're, as a community, again, we're willing to pay all these extra taxes in, you know, for public education, for fire and police, of course, you know, all the services that we need, as well as for clean water but we're not putting climate in the same pool in terms of, you know, in other words, we're unwilling to pay from a tax base to help our environment. So just an observation.
thank you, Mike. All right, so in terms of getting started on these, I'm just marking a few people in bold who I think maybe would be willing to take the reign on these. And I'll know more, for instance, on that police chief discussion once I talk to Chief Bohannon. Eleni, are you willing to organize this one,
Yep.
A12?
And I can help out with A12 as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. And we'll have to figure out again, depending on how you want to organize that. We can't have more than, we need a public meeting if it's more than 3 people getting together.
That's fine,
So, yeah, we can do that. That's very doable.
right?
Just be aware.
And we don't have to make it terribly complicated. Even it's as simple as, let's find the resources in the community who can talk about wildlife risks.
Yes.
Sort those folks out and how they can help us disseminate that to the public. I think it's not a lot of great deep thinking, you know, which I like because you get it done.
Agreed.
So Roberta, so you've outlined A14 again, just temporarily. We'll figure out what that really means on a cap next week. I'm putting your name in bold on that. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. And then for A1, John, you had a lot of good ideas on that.
Yeah, I think.
You'd be willing to
Sure.
Pancho? All right, excellent. Fantastic. Well, I think we have, I don't know about you all, but I think we've gotten a lot of progress today. It feels very uplifting in terms of, you know, your willingness to engage and you know, I feel better with a group that's, you know, incentivized and has some great ideas on the table, all of which look really awesome.
Yeah, thank you for leading the charge into this. And to echo something that I think Tom said earlier. For everybody's consideration is to look at this and see if you see one place where you can sort of be a champion or a lead and you're excited about that prospect. Because if we all are able to answer that question affirmatively and point to something, then we'll have a good, strong.
Point. Thank you. Any other thoughts on this or other items? Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just thank
Motion
you
to
for
adjourn.
doing so much work to sort through the rest of it.
Thank you for your time.
That's been easy.
Tom.
I motion to end the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Thank you.